Why does no one teach us how to have a healthy disagreement? Like how to lean into healthy conflict? I feel like we should be being taught this in school, because a lot of us can just be so afraid of conflict that it all just bubbles up inside and resides as resentment. And then you suddenly just are quite a difficult person to be around, and you just have contempt for the other person. And it's really hard to actually resolve anything and to get peace and to just, wipe the slate clean, like not remembering the wrongs, not having a whole list of wrongdoings. But that's hard. Today, I'm diving into something that every relationship will experience, and that is conflict. And I hope that this is helpful to you, whether you're coupled up or not, because we have relationships with lots of different people in our lives. And unfortunately, conflict is going to be a part of that. So being able to lean into how to have that in a healthy way, in a way that really pursues peace and actually encourages peace, is a really good thing. Number one, I think we need to normalize conflict. Sometimes some of us can panic as soon as there's conflict in our relationship. We think, oh no, this is a red flag, this is a terrible sign. So I think it's important to know that the person you're with is not a carbon copy of yourself. And that means that there is sometimes going to be friction, there's sometimes going to be tension, and it doesn't need to be the end of the world. In fact, conflict doesn't mean something's wrong, it just means you're both human. And conflict isn't failure, it's an invitation to grow. I love this saying, which is you don't win or lose, you win or you learn. And I think the same about conflict. I do this, like I have an argument or I'm short, I'm snappy, and then I'm ruminating in my head, like, why did I reply like that? Why was I like that? When actually God is inviting us to say, okay, I didn't like how I acted in that situation. How can I be better next time? It's all about being better and not bitter. Like you want to just like learn and grow, and it's hard. And I was thinking about this earlier, how like I'm probably going to be in my 70s, 80s, 90s and still like, oh my gosh, I was today's years old when I discovered this. So it's going to be a learning process, but it's one that we are all in together. And I think there is a temptation, especially while we're dating as Christians, to try to always do everything right. And that can mean that we can equate arguments to dysfunction. But peace isn't the absence of tension. It's how you walk through it. I mean, look at the Bible. Look at St. Peter and St. Paul. They disagreed all the time, and yet they're both saints in the Bible. They're both two incredible characters that we look to for so much wisdom and knowledge. And they had tension. But there's a way of, telling someone that they've hurt you and asking them to respect a boundary that you have in place, or to ask someone to do something differently in a way that still honors and respects them, not in a way that puts them down or shames them or makes them feel less than. Conflict is an opportunity to clarify what matters to each of you. That's all. It's not a war, it's not you versus them, it's a conversation. And the goal isn't to win, it's to understand the other and to repair and to build or rebuild. Because if you win and your partner feels misunderstood, then you've both lost. Remember that you're not enemies, you're actually on the same team. So you're trying to get to the same goal, which is, to be happy, to be holy together, to hopefully walk together in marriage and family life and hold each other's hands to heaven. And that needs to be the goal. You need to not see them as the enemy, because that can, I don't know why that happens when you get angry with someone and you're suddenly like, oh, this person is against me. Well, really, you're on the same side, you're on the same team, and you're trying to get through this together, to repair it together, to get stronger together. And there's definitely been times when I've suppressed my feelings or my needs to keep the peace, but all that's done is just built the resentment up inside, and then sometimes it just blows up and comes out. So I really do believe in bringing things up as and when, because also I think it's hard for the other person to understand if you bring something up that happened like 3 months ago. Like if you just said, hey, yesterday you did this thing or you said this thing and it really did hurt me. Like, did you mean it in that way that I've understood it? It's just a lot easier to get through it rather than, having it there. Then you like have it in your receipts, and then suddenly it just like builds up until it eventually just overpours, So you definitely don't want to encourage self-abandonment where you're just like suppressing and burying all of these hurts. You want to raise it in a way that you're able to talk about, kindly and charitably, but also to resolve there and then. I think that's really helpful and really healthy. So here's some practical tools that I've learned from listening to loads of podcasts and using in my own life and from anecdotes from others. Number one is using the I feel statements. Instead of like, you never listen to me, you could say, I feel really dismissed when I don't feel heard. And this really helps the other person to receive your message and to hear you without becoming defensive and without taking something as a personal attack. Then there's the 24-hour rule, rule. If you're anything like me, you feel things fast and quickly and strongly. So if you're flooded emotionally, it's okay to pause. Take a moment, pray, journal, sleep on it. Get perspective before responding. Remember to respond and not react. And for those of you who pray, ask the Holy Spirit for peace, for clarity, and for the words needed to be able to communicate your feelings to the other person. Number 3 is to fight the issue, not the person. Remember to stick to the current conflict, the current subject that needs to be spoken about. Don't bring up every mistake since 2021. Stay on the topic. Don't make it personal. Don't bring up like a, record of wrongs. Remember that Corinthians scripture that love does not keep a record of wrongs. So try to, see this person with new eyes every day and not look back. Like hopefully you're dealing with things as and when they come, so that record, it just keeps getting scratched off and you can throw those, mishaps away or those hurts away when you can resolve them quickly and in a timely manner. Remember to name the behavior, not their identity. And always remember that you're on the same side, you're on the same team. Then number 4 is to ask clarifying questions. Some examples are, can you help me understand what you meant by that? Or what do you need from me right now? Embracing humility and curiosity is going to help you go a long way, and just really understanding, because so often we misunderstand each other and then we're over here being super hurt and the other person didn't mean to hurt you. So I think there has to be that, those clarifying questions. When you said this, I really felt like this. Is that what you meant? Did you intend for it to come out that way? Number 5 is to pray together even when it's awkward. When you get to this point where you're just nagging at each other, you're nitpicking, take a moment, one of you, and say, can we just pray for a second? It doesn't need to be formal, it's just taking a breath and praying. It can even be something as, Jesus, please help us to love each other better right now. It can be a complete game changer to just remember to reorient and bring Christ into the center of your relationship. And remember that, Christ is King and he can help you, and he can help you in those moments. And it can also just help to get you out of that kind of mood, So I think that can really break the ice. Number 6 is to ditch the always and never statements. This has really changed my life because I used to always say, and now I'm doing it again, just be like, you're always like this, or it's always like this. And when you question it, was it 100% of the time like that? It's almost never that. So funny that I've now used always and never, but just like, you never do this, you always do this. It's so rarely the accurate truth. It might feel powerful in the moment, but it just shuts the other person down. It doesn't open them up. It puts them in a defensive position. It's accusatory, it's exaggerated, and it is often untrue. No one always or never does anything. And these sweeping statements can really block that real communication. Instead, try statements like, when this happened, I felt, or I noticed this pattern and it's affecting how I feel. Can we talk about how we can both improve here? Remember that healthy conflict is always about resolution and not blame. Always and never statements make the other person the enemy, but in a healthy relationship, you are on the same team. So let's talk about what to avoid. Here's what not to do. Stonewalling. So that means going quiet or shutting the other person out, giving them the silent treatment, or just shutting down. Criticism, attacking their character rather than the action or behavior. Defensiveness, that stops you from listening. It blocks your ears. So try to listen before you suddenly defend. And don't escalate, raising your voice, doing the always and never statements, and just being generally dramatic. It's really hard to have a mature conversation when we're both acting like toddlers, Remember that from a Christian lens, conflict is an invitation to virtue. And as much as they can be difficult and it can be hard sometimes, God really does use relationships to refine us. Patience, gentleness, humility, forgiveness. These aren't just things that we say in church, that we read in the Bible. They're qualities that we're meant to practice in the hard times with the people we love. In those hard moments where it might be hard to love the other person, but that's when we're most invited to humility, to forgiveness, to love, to charity, etc. And if you're truly both seeking Christ, this conflict is going to make you stronger and better, not worse. And I've had those moments where I've brought up something really small in a relationship and then suddenly it's spiraled and become this really huge deal, this huge argument, and it's been really character destroying, you know, and it's horrible when that happens. So next time you find yourself in conflict, you know, try to handle it with grace. Try to remember that this is an invitation for you both to grow in intimacy and trust and love. And that trust really does grow through that honesty, that authenticity, not perfection. You know, just because you've had an argument doesn't mean it's not the right relationship. So thank you so much for listening, and please leave a comment if I've missed out on any other tips about conflict, because I'm sure there's many more out there, and we're all trying to, you know, really build up this healthy conflict and the art of it, whether that's in your relationship, with your family of origin, or at work, or any circumstance really. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe to Salt Content for more videos around a Christ-centered way of living, especially when it comes to your dating life. Okay, as always, God bless, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.